I think one topic that I have heard and read a lot about is that many candidates, especially sales candidates, decline offers at the last minute or even ghost companies. So I thought it's going to be a good time to look behind the scenes as we talk with a lot of candidates and have very close relationships as well with those candidates to understand what is happening in the market. And now we want to share many of these insights to help companies get those best talents for their open jobs. Hi, this is Laura, and you're listening to the CareerBee Talks podcast, where we share all the newest insights on the recruiting world from both sides, the candidate perspective and the company perspective. Let's jump right in. Hi, Luca. So I know you talk with sales talent all the time and hear many, many things. And let's discuss 5 of the main reasons why you think in the end some of these candidates decline offers. What would you say is the main reason?
Yeah, very interesting topic to talk about. So hopefully, if you work with a good recruiter, it hopefully doesn't happen so much that your candidates decline your offer. However, especially if companies like are trying recruiting on their own and they don't have a lot of experience with hiring sales candidates, there's definitely some trends that I hear more often or not. I think the first, definitely, always when we look into sales, is the compensation, salary, bonus achievement, provisions, commissions, whatever you want to call it, and
Right.
especially, is that consistent throughout consistently communicated throughout a job advertisement, throughout the interview process, and then in the end, once they get the contract, does this language align with what was communicated previously? Or is there suddenly, for example, like a cap on the maximum amount that they can discuss, right? So usually in a B2B setting, for example, always we talk about, oh yeah, this amount is the base salary. And then of course you can earn this and this amount on top with commissions. And no one ever talked, well, there's a certain cap after you reach X amount of commissions, right? And something that they read through the contract, and suddenly there's this one sentence in the contract that changes their whole calculations for maybe leaving their job and joining a new purpose. So in general, I would say yes, salary and especially the communication, alignment of expectation throughout the process is very important.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, do you think this happens specifically in sales managers' roles more than in others? Because maybe here, companies also try to sell the position more, and sales people or people that are very good in sales tend to be more about numbers and also like this potential to earn money, or does this have nothing to do with it?
I mean, it's for every position, the expectations should be aligned and it should be the same thing communicated. You are right in that sense. However, I would say for sales positions, small change, a small sentence that can change a lot of the calculation. This is more prevalent because also in sales, usually these bonus or commission schemes make up a bigger part of the overall salary and a big part of the package, so to say, a bigger part than for other roles.
Right. Okay. So first tip for companies, you have to communicate salary transparently in the initial phase as well, so that those candidates that don't match, that don't fit, jump off along the way earlier than later. And on the other hand, of course, that those that stay then in the end actually sign the contract. That's a great tip. Let's look into another common reason that you have seen why talents disappear last minute, maybe.
Yeah. Another one that is maybe specific or more specific for sales talents, especially in field sales, is car topic. So, right, usually if you are working in a field sales roles, there is some type of compensation or a car provided. So compensation for using your own car or car provided. In Germany, especially in B2B, it's very common that salespeople would get a car that the company already has an existing car pool, if it's a bigger one, or they rent one, they lease one, and then assign this to you for use in field. There's the same in Austria, for example, or also in other European countries. Some companies prefer to pay you for using your own car. That's also possible, a bit more common maybe, or working with some allowances, a bit more common in UK and closely related companies in my experience. If you assume in Germany, that's for example, so in every cars is very important for Germany. For people in Germany, I always tell international companies when they ask me, what's your advice? I want to hire a salesperson in Germany. And I always say, think about what do we offer for the car? So I try to
Mm-hmm.
we discussed this in the first meeting before I even started recruiting. So now it's a very important topic for German salespeople. We are a car nation after all. So I always say never mess with the cars of German employees. And right, so assume, there will be a company car provided. And then there's the question, well, what type of car? Am I driving a small Volkswagen, VW Golf, VW Polo maybe even? Or am I driving a Mercedes-Benz, for example? When I drive to a customer, they are maybe impressed, maybe not too overly impressed. We don't want to signal, oh, we are rich and making money off you, but still a good status symbol, so to say. And if this is not clearly defined in the beginning, then afterwards there could be something they get sent a car policy, for example, and suddenly the car policy specifies, this car will be this and this type of brand, and it doesn't work at all for the salesperson. And then the company is not willing to discuss this. This is a reason why a salesperson would definitely look in other directions, especially in the German-speaking market, but also in other markets.
And would you suggest to write that already in the job ad, what type of car it is, or is that something that companies like to use for negotiation later on?
In my experience, companies are either very set in their ways because they have an existing car pool. And then I think it's good if you can communicate it already very early, for example, in the job ad, or at least in a first conversation. On the other hand, some companies, if you don't have the existing car, you rent, of course, then or lease, then of course it's also depending what is available. So if you are so flexible, then you don't need to use it. But if you have, hey, everyone drives this and this. Also, topic is, for example, some companies switching to electric cars. This is important for some people. Some really prefer it, say, okay, I only want to drive electric. Some salespeople I know say, I would never drive electric, doesn't work for me. And so if you are set in your ways, then I would recommend to already put it as early as possible.
All right. So tip number 2, not only be transparent about your salary, but then also about the car. So the benefit car per se is very important for sales talent, specifically here in Germany, but also I believe all over the world. So great tip again for companies. Now let's look into reason number 3.
Yeah, I would say reason number 3 is goal clarity. So are your goals communicated clearly and what the salesperson should achieve and what you expect from them? And can you also underline that these are realistic goals, or if, of course, the goals then, because they relate again to the commissions that the salesperson will get. So is it realistic actually? Or does it turn out, well, we communicated a great number in the beginning, but no one hits it? And that, then something later comes up, they ask for a table, and then a table that is showing what the other sales reps are earning in commissions. And then suddenly it comes out that, well, that's way less than before. So goal clarity in that sense is very important. How much customer contacts are they expected to make? How many new deals are to be won? How many existing customers do they have to take over and deal with? So these are all some KPI or number related topics that can, if that's not clearly communicated, can in the end come back to haunt you in final negotiations.
Right. And these should also be communicated early in the interview. I mean, in the job ad, you can add some information, but of course you cannot add as much text as you probably need to explain everything. But then in the first interviews, you should already be sharing this information so that later on there are no missed expectations along the way. I do think this is a very important tip as well. I think for every single role out there, but also specifically sales, where there are very clear KPIs more than in other roles. So great third tip. Talking, with all these sales talent, any other thing that came up of why people then rejected?
Yeah, I think area planning or area management is sometimes also important. So usually in a sales roles, maybe more in a field sales roles, but actually not necessarily. It could be in other parts as well. There's often you do a geographical assignment where, for example, one salesperson would take, let's not use Germany this time, but let's use, I don't know, UK, for example, where one salesperson is supposed to cover, let's say, south of UK, and the other person is supposed to cover the north of UK, and the sales role comes with regular customer visits. And this is how it was communicated. So you have a candidate that's living in South UK, and suddenly they get a working contract, and it says, well, your area is the whole UK, and regular visits are required, right? And they're like, okay, this suddenly completely changes the job, because I need to make customer visits, let's say, every second week at least, to my customers. And so I need to stay overnight because I cannot travel home because it's 4 or 5 hours away in this example. Then it would change the whole calculation for the salesperson. So also be very clear, it's a common trend, as I be very clear from the beginning about the area that is to be covered.
Yeah. And do you feel this happens many times in the recruiting process, that suddenly the area gets expanded or changed along the process?
Again, if you work with a recruiter, he would hopefully ask you all these questions in the beginning. Still, nevertheless, let's assume in my example, South UK and North UK, well, maybe they had someone from North UK, but the person left in the meantime, right? And so suddenly, well, then our salesperson that we now hire, they should just cover all that.
Yeah.
Right. So it can happen based on, it should not happen, but it can happen. And that's why I think it's very important. And I think more so I'm advocating for the companies to be aware that those are very important factors for a salesperson, right? That you want to specify. The companies like to be very vague in their description and say regular travel to customers is required. But that's me. Maybe that's my fifth point already, but we can subsumize it in the area management. It's like the amount of travel to customers. Okay, what does regular mean? Does it mean like every day I'm supposed to be out in the field? Does it mean 3 days per week? Does it mean every second week? Completely changes the profile and what type of person you would find for this role.
Exactly. So of course, maybe not every company can foresee every situation. So for example, if a person leaves in the team and now the new person should be covering areas, then it's important to communicate firstly the reason why suddenly you're adding something more, and not just, put it in the contract and hope the person signs it blindly, but rather be very open about it. Ask the person, because in the end, losing that one good person that you went through the whole recruiting process with will cost you more than thinking about how to replace that other person that left, right? The one person shouldn't be needing to cover everything, because that is risky. Awesome. I mean, you already said that you were talking about reason number 5 a little bit, but let's go into detail. What would be reason number 5?
Yeah, reason number 5 is timing. So this can mean many things. So assume good salesperson, usually if they are in the market right now, because they are maybe unhappy with their current situation, usually good salesperson will have multiple offers on the table. And so if you are too slow, for example, it can all sound good, and it probably thought, hey, we sound like we had agreement there, but nothing was put out to paper, and then 1 or 2 weeks go by, and candidate is waiting, and maybe even sending an update email and then not hearing back. They will move on fast to their next opportunity. So maybe it was the case that they just had to make the decision and then wanted to move on to some other offer that was also on the table, where they maybe felt a little bit wanted, a bit more appreciated, which is often inferred by fast responsiveness to emails.
Right.
Also, could be that they get a counter offer. This sometimes happens as well. As soon as the current employer gets wind that they want to leave, suddenly the salary promotion that was due a couple of months ago but was denied, suddenly it's possible after all, right? And usually the advice is for candidates then to still probably make the switch, because there was a reason. And if you only get what you want after threatening to leave, then usually 1 year later, you can see on a LinkedIn profile, well, then 1 year later, they want to move. But yeah, those timing related questions can also be a reason for declining of offers.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, even if the person was going to get an offer from the company the moment they are saying that they're going to leave, if your process is very advanced, the person will feel more encouraged to actually leave because you've shown such a commitment to them. So definitely timing and being fast in the process makes a difference now more than ever, as we live in this very fast-paced world and people are very used to this, things happening fast. So I think that's also a great tip. I think we've learned a lot today on things to look out for if you are hiring sales people. I mean, we covered it into 5 sections. I think transparency was one of the main things, right? Transparency on salary, transparency on goals expected of the person, transparency on the car and other benefits. And then also, like, on the other hand, what we just mentioned at the end, which is not necessarily transparency, but then also timing, right? Being transparent and being on time, being fast, will make a big difference. So thank you so much, Luca. I think with this, we got very good insights. Any last thing that you would want to share for people hiring sales manager? Any last tip we haven't mentioned?
Yeah, no, just keep these things in mind and you're good to go. If you want to have some professional help by recruiters that have done this before and we know what to look out for hiring for your next heroes, then let us know, get in touch. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you are a company who's currently looking to expand their team with amazing talent, make sure to check out our website careerbeat.io to learn more about our recruiting services and how we can help you find the best candidate for your open roles. On the other side, if you are a candidate who's currently looking to find a job in the US or Germany, make sure to explore our website careerbeat.io/talents to see how our masterclass and our additional career services can get you to find your dream job. In any case, you can always reach out to our team via the email team@careerbeat.io. We are so happy to continue sharing many more insights around recruiting and job searching.